that Crucible, I think that should be priority #1 for this team.
Yep, and let's take a look at the battleground. It's okay. As usual, both StarCraft maps are removed.
And BOE will be the map choice of RRR, in fact. L5 will take first pick. So, picking a map that they have played quite a bit on, L5 did in the Eastern Clash. And we talk about the Garrosh patch. I think the big factors coming out of the patch are really just the fact that he exists. How will the players use him? Will he be used at all? Otherwise, in terms of balance, the game will play, I think, very similarly to how it has in the past few weeks, over the past month, because of the Ariel change is not live. That's when things are really going to change.
Yep,
when the Ariel nerf comes in, the Uther nerfs come in, that's when things are going to be different. But this weekend, with the exception of Garrosh, things won't be too different. You have to expect, based on what we saw at the Eastern Clash.
I don't think Garrosh will be the first ban material. I think Garrosh may be sometimes second ban or coming in the middle of the drafting. It'll be very similar, as you can see, Ariel, and probably you'll see Genji removed ASAP from RRR.
Yeah. Do you think that Garrosh will end up being somewhere along the lines of what we saw from Malthael upon Malthael's release, or do you think a little bit lower than that?
I think it'll be about the same, or a little bit higher. It depends on the battleground. I've asked a lot of the Korean players. In the smaller maps where Garrosh can rotate a little bit better, especially on Dragonchar or Spider Queens, they want to play Garrosh somewhat, but in the other battlegrounds, they want to avoid him as much as possible because he still has to walk and it takes a long time.
Yeah, he doesn't have a lot of mobility. I think the best tank you could compare him to in this meta is probably Diablo, right? He's got this ability to toss someone into danger, get this aggressive pick on a rotation, but as a solo tank, he's fairly tanky, gets tankier the more damage he takes, but he's not an insane solo tanker. He doesn't offer that much peeling until he gets level 10, so his early game has to be pick-oriented, as you will see the Tassadar removed actually over the Genji. This will leave Genji open, and as no surprise, yeah, he's picked immediately. Surprised
that RR actually banned Taz. I think they were also thinking about Vala and some other comp that can happen with Tassadar, something like Tracer that can also come in.
Certainly.
So, which L5 showed a lot. So, right after they're going to pick up Tyrael and Greymane. Tyrael does counter Malthael at the same time, so I think that's a decent pickup. Also nullifies Dragonblade if the Sanctification is on the perfect place. And RRR, of course, they've been a team compared to all other Korean teams. They picked Greymane so much.
Absolutely.
And usually if you take a look at the data sheet, and especially for Korea, Greymane does not get picked before the second ban phase, oftentimes and most of the time. And RRR is basically the only team most of the time to pick Greymane before. There is Garrosh!
He's already in. So he's going to be paired with Uther here, so that's going to be some empowered Dragon Blades. Very excited that already in our first game, we will see the Garrosh. I wasn't sold on him, to be honest, so far, based on what I've seen. But when you talk about smaller maps, and in this case, the 2-lane map where you're going to be very aggressive very often, and the ability to combo his toss, actually, his Wrecking Ball, with the likes of the Immortal stuns, there's a lot of things you can do with that.
I saw lots of fun stuff, like tossing over Uther for Storm, actually. Tossing your own ally after 7. That's also possible, so, ooh, there's a little hiccup
in the draft, it looks like, as Tekalik says RIP in the draft. I don't know if that chat was because the draft bugged, or if because RIP our team because they picked Garrosh and he's scared of it.
We heard the pick sound, but we were missing one player from L5, I think. Maybe a disconnection issue, but it should be back very soon. We already saw Garrosh, then I've also asked the question, which is the best support pair-up for Garrosh, and it was Uther, which provides more armor. He already has so much armor. Every time he misses, his health 2% equals to 1 armor. When he gets to 50, basically he dies. But with that 25 coming out from Uther, that's a lot more armor, and it's basically super, super hard to kill him because armor does less damage for skills and also the basic attacks.
Yeah, and I mean, you end up in this situation where you have this burst heal too to protect him when he's low, or you can divine shield him and then he survives long enough and gets a little bit of healing, just kind of always stays low. His taunt, once he gets level 10, is going to be the most impactful thing that he could do in a longer fight in terms of peel. And because you can simply have him taunt and then he could keep peeling while he's low because he gets the armor, then you keep giving the armor with Uther, then you Divine Shield him. It's like, oh, I guess he just never is going to die, all the while he's tossing with his Wrecking Ball heroes into kind of unforgiving situations, especially in the lane. Like, if you get a good toss-off on someone who's trying to gank, you throw them right into the cannon towers, and they just take so much damage. They'll often just immediately die. In a team fight, though, it's tough to set up those toss situations unless your opponents are just out of position.
Whenever you get a Groundbreaker with the Qs, and the Qs, it's pretty forgiving if you land on those hitboxes at the very end. You can just basically just combo with the E and just toss it over the wall, and they will never escape. So when you're laning, especially if you don't have too much range on the other side, so you have to be careful.
You do, especially if you're up against a solo laner who's melee, and they have to be kind of aggressive to get the wave, because Garrosh eventually gets pretty decent wave clear if you take his reset on his W. Then he just shoves the lane super hard. But if you are safe in lane, his Groundbreaker has pretty, I mean, it's not long, but it's not an instantaneous cast, so you can kind of figure out when he's trying to pull you in. If you're on the money, if you're on the spot with dodging it, that it's going to be difficult, of course, to get those pulls into the money tosses. But if you have someone with you, someone's coming up to gank, you get the polymorph or something like that, something like a Brightwing gank, Brightwing polymorphs, you get the grab in, then you toss over. That's a different story. I don't think we're going to be seeing Brightwing today. I'm just saying, as an example.
And the money slot will be on when you're running away from the team fight. When you're trying to run away, you really have to run away, and there's no way if you go back even for a slight moment, then you're dead already. So the Q really comes in handy even in team fights sometimes, and you can also initiate with Luther. I talked about Storm. We saw lots of D.Va tosses coming out with the explosion.
That's what I want to see, the D.Va toss.
I don't think we're going to see one today because Korea has not been playing D.Va at all. But
hey, her level 4 defense matrix talent was like slightly buffed. Maybe she's totally viable now, G-Clef.
Well, I did not hear anything about D.Va from all the Korean teams, so we never know. But Garrosh has weaknesses, though. Doesn't have armor, so against the sustained damage like Vala, it's really, really good, decent. But against all the mage, the burst damage, as you mentioned, like Li Ming, if Garrosh can also blow up an instant before he gets to all the armor.
The armor isn't really going to be too helpful against that type of damage. So, I mean, we'll see what ends up being drafted against him, because as we mentioned, this is the first time he'll ever be played in HGC, already in Game 1, on day 1 of our second part. So we're getting the update that there was a drop, as you say, from one of the players in the lobby. So as far as I know, based on HGC rules, we'll just simply have the lobby restarted, and with the same picks and the same time bank, have everything back to where it was before. So the internet is back fixed, and we're going back into the draft, is what we were just told. So we'll be jumping back into that one in just a second. Thanks for being patient, guys. Oh, we did our little Garrosh rant.
Garrosh.
I think there are clear weaknesses to Garrosh, though. I feel like he's a strong engage tank like a Diablo, but he doesn't have very much mobility. He doesn't have very many escapes, and he's got a large health pool, but he doesn't have some sort of. He doesn't have a power slide to get out. He doesn't have a dwarf toss to get out. Things like that. He doesn't have parry like Varian has. If he gets caught in the middle of the fray and gets CC locked, doesn't matter that he can toss people. He will just simply die. So it looks like we're just going to redo this draft from start to finish.
And lots of Korean pros were talking about Falstad maybe coming into the meta as not the first pick material, but like last pick to finish up the draft, especially with Garrosh. When Garrosh is stuck, he doesn't have an escape. If you have the Gust, you can always provide an escape for Garrosh. So maybe they will start using Falstad. Again, L5 has been using Falstad a lot before the roster change, but not really too much after SDE and Hooligan came in. They've been picking somewhat of Falstad, but I want to see Falstad coming back and having their perfect rotations back. So we'll see more bans coming out.
Rhaegar has been the top pick for MSG since switching to support, so this is no shocker. It was also the top pick paired with Greymane Tyrael at the Eastern Clash. Speaking of Falstad, by the way, he's 15-5 in HGC Korea, mostly due to players like Sake on the hero.
Yes.
But he has the highest win rate of any hero played over 20 games at the 75 and 15-5. Genji's sitting at a 64 with 50 games played, so a larger of a sample size, but still, Falstad, when drafted in Korea, has been always in the correct moment, and many times for MVP Black, just to go back to what you were talking about, Kharazim will be the choice here instead of the Rhaegar, and they're going to take the Malthael for his awesome potential as a soul laner on this map and his racing potential too on the Immortals.
Yep, they were thinking about Malthael from the beginning, and that's exactly why they picked up Tyrael along with Greymane from the beginning. They were planning this all along, having Tyrael on the other side. Just there's no way for Malthael to actually engage and try to do all the rips with the ult coming out from, and if there is sanctification on the other side. So it's a perfect pair up having that, and also as you mentioned, the racing for the Immortal will be very important, but just lots of sustained damage, and also the percent damage comes in because percent damage actually ignores all the armor from the other side. So I think it's a very smart choice coming out from RRR already.
18% win ratio for good old Kharazim, though very rarely picked in this phase. Chen is coming out, so
before the nerfs.
So before the nerfs, and it's not going to be solo tank Garrosh as expected here. And this leaves us with Abathur with the Chen. No surprises for this map. This is a map we'd see this on, and this map and Cursed Hollow specifically. So the question is, who will be playing the Garrosh? Will Hooligan just simply play the Chen, and will we see Jungha on the Garrosh, or will it be vice versa? Because I feel like you can make arguments for both. Jungha is a very strong Chen player, and Garrosh is, I guess, in a lot of ways, maybe the main tank of this army for how Chen will be played, so we could see Hooligan on the Garrosh.
I think this is somewhat very unexpected to coming out to finish the draft too. Chen and Abathur, I don't think anyone has guessed that right on this draft. Chen Abathur's win rate is insane from what I remember back from Eastern Class, especially MVP Black and L5 has been using that sometimes.
Yeah, go back as far as BlizzCon. NA was using it, MVP Black was using it.
Over 80% still, and bringing that out in BOE is a little bit surprising, but I'm pretty sure we've seen it happen and they made it work, so I'm expecting a pretty good one.
All right, the final pick here for RRR, will it just be the secondary DPS? Yes, it's Tychus. So I'm going to use him to try to burn down Chen in the front lines. And if he goes Grounding Brew, that will affect some of Tychus' minigun damage, because that is actually ability damage. But overall, I like the Chen pick. It's going to be very threatening into the back lines. He can actually trap members, or at least try to slow down their retreat for Garrosh to get those Groundbreakers into the Wrecking Balls. There's a lot of potential here. And also the hard engage you talk about with the Uther stuns coming in with the Vine Storm. Definitely something we could see in the longer team fights. But guys, we are ready for our very first game here for part 2 of Phase 2 for HGC Korea. It's L5 against RRR. In blue, L5 Eastern Class champions. Hooligan will be on the Garrosh, SC on Genji, Jungha on Chen, SDE on Abathur, and Swoi on Uther.
And in red, RRR. Odok on Malthael, MSG on Kharazim, EZC on Greymane, Kong on Tychus, and take a look on Tyrael.
Okay, it's time, man. Malthael still powerful on this map, despite several nerfs to his hero since release. And Tychus making the secondary DPS comeback here against the double warrior of Garrosh and Chen. So, I mean, there's no surprises with this draft, I think, for L5. In a way, I think I agree with what you say, is that no one would have predicted it. But when you think about what it's good at doing, it's not a bad comp at all. It's one we've seen so many times in the past, but Kong actually way overextending here, though. They went for the dive there onto the backline, but there was no way with all the armor provided from Swoi and Hooligan's base armor sitting at a plus 40 right now.
See how much armor they have. I think they will have that for a long, long time, especially during teamfight. It's going to help because they do have sustained damage coming out from Tychus, and Greymane is a lot of burst. I think they needed an extra source of damage, so they picked up Tychus at the very end, and also another source of percent damage, which is pretty good against Garrosh and Chen coming in. Of course, with Uther heal, even more armor. I think they have a very good understanding of style of drafting, but against all this lane, even the top lane will be very pressured from the beginning, and of course, losing a Tychus from the beginning of the fight was not so good.
No, Wrecking Ball already getting some value here in the triple lane as well, as we actually see the lane swap here with Kong coming up. We've seen a lot of Taika swaps against strong top laners in the past. Does Chen win against Malthael? No, but he wins against Malthael when he has Abathur on him, so that's why they had that swap there. It's going to push the wave in. We do see another dive here for SC. This time he gets the kill on to the Tychus. Last time he was looking for the kill onto EGZ, was unsuccessful, but forced a Hearth home and now gets the kill. They're just massively ahead, looking for another pick. It's MSG who's the target. There's the pull in, and SC is just trying to take names tonight. We'll get the second kill here. Junga body blocks, no one's getting out. There's the kill on EGZ. There's the pull once again onto Tyrael, but he does Aldruin's away.
One thing that's really costing RRR big is when Tychus came along, EZZ used to be the one that was playing Tychus most of the time. And having MSG this time and having EZZ on Greymane, there was a little bit of a hero swap there. I think that's really costing them big right now. Does not really know exactly where to position in team fights. They're going in along with the team, but L5, they have the perfect tool to actually pick up one and escape. That's Genji. Yeah. And they allowed that to happen from the very beginning of the draft, banning Tassadar instead of Genji. So I think he needs to be a little bit more careful in terms of positioning, as we can see.
I mean, if you let the Genji happen, sure, there's arguments for allowing that to happen, but if you don't position correctly against it, that's where you end up falling. Oduck is playing the Malthael. He's normally the Greymane player, so he wants to carry the fights with his heroic once they get level 10, but we're a long way away from that now. But look at all the damage, actually, that EGZ's been able to do to this Immortal, nearly evening up the shields when they had such a large deficit. And in fact, SC is going to have to not overstep his bounds here. He's going to rotate back in soon, but during this time, RRR is actually winning the extended fight down here. Oduck doing so much damage to Garrosh. This is going to be a 1-for-1.
Then does go down. Sway will also get picked up by SC. SC looking for more kills. Hooligan will get that armor as he loses more. But against the percent damage, he can't do too much. Oduck now is caught. Tosses over, and SC gets another kill with the Avatar hat. They also they can't just ignore the Avatar. That does a lot of damage in every single Q's coming in.
I mean, the Uther heals are what won them that fight. You know, we talk about this a lot. The armor, too, obviously provided, made it a lot easier, but RRR had a massive massive health advantage going into that fight after the failed pick there for SC. But when it was Uther who died, when Swoy was dead, he provided so much extra burst healing, so SC was able to do damage for free without any worries while getting that armor. So they win the Immortal. It's not the large health pool that we're hoping for, as it started off much better for them. But either way, they are going to hit 7 first. This wall, because of the lost lane, is already out of ammo, so they're going to get so many ranged attacks onto this Immortal. Here comes Kong, already caught, and he is going to get downed by this reset coming in from SC.
And Hooligan just picking every single Q's. That's exactly why every time they try to escape and also continuing with the combo with the E, they're diving in all the way. They have so much armor. This is insane what we're seeing here.
Oh boy, SC getting another reset. Will get taken out by the cannon tower at the end of the day, but these picks, even though it's a 2-for-1, that's a positive trade already. It meant that RRR was nowhere near this Immortal, which meant it got the full fort here. They may look for more, actually. Oduck, is chasing far. See if they can actually turn this fight. Junga is full at Brew. Is going to come in here. Hooligan with a large amount of armor. Remember, that's not going to be too great against Kong's percent-based damage here. He is going to go down, so L5 perhaps overestimating what they were going to be able to accomplish here despite Junga having full health. They're looking for the pick here onto Kong, but again, he's doing so much damage to these tanks. Here's the pick onto the Tyrael.
He got another one! And this entire time, Avatar has been picking up EXP on top for the last 2 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, don't underestimate Tychus in these fights when you have 2 tanks and the armor just isn't so great against his minigun. SDE is going to, just continue to soak, as you say. It was body soaking there. Is going to just head back now. So it was obviously a 1 fight for RRR, but the losses were the dive that killed 2 of their members that allowed the fort to be killed. They lost the lane, so they didn't have any ammo to help slow down that Immortal, and they lost the EXP in top. So L5, sure, they lost that one fight where perhaps they overextended a little bit, but the win is still theirs in terms of trades. They're about to have the heroics online, and that's when Garrosh is really going to spike. And I don't even know if, with how things are going, it's necessarily the case that we're going to see that Divine Storm combo. We might just see Divine Shield to empower SC.
Who knows? I think they have enough tank, and they're looking for a pick onto Kong every single time. Hooligan is every single Q lands, and the E connects every single time. There's a Grey Mane, no more damage coming out from RRR. Well, without the supports also on the same place.
Okay, so much damage already done here with 10 online. Holding on to that Divine Storm.
Yeah,
looks like he wants to wait until that talent comes online where he can toss teammates. Doesn't have it yet. He's going to go ahead and taunt here, though, for the pick. There's the toss onto MSG. He goes down. That means no more healing, and RRR can no longer contest this fight. As we are going to see the first Immortal phase easily given to L5. No 10 on the side of RRR.
There was a slight chance, and when I say slight chance, less than 10% of not losing any members, but they were so far out from the fort. I know they lost the fort already, but when it comes to the time when you're not 10 and your opponent is 11, you have to be defensive. Just try to soak for EXP and then fight later on. I think they were way outside of the safe boundaries from the fort.
Yeah, not respecting the heroics there, and with level 10 on the horizon, as you say, they do have to turtle, but this is going to be a very healthy Immortal. They can at least embrace the fact that they have a full health fort. This is not going to be a keep Immortal per se. The Immortal won't touch the top keep wall before they have 10, as ETD is going to easily clear the spot wave. They will get 10 with it. She could rotate back up top. It's still a very powerful Immortal, though, and if they mess up the fight for any reason, then they could certainly lose the keep or the game as a result, because this Immortal is fully shielded. So they need to take care in dealing with Jungha as he dives over this fort.
When we talk about shield, there's lots of shields on Chen and Allah, even with Avatar, and lots of armors coming in just into the fray. Jungha just to be safe. There's a storm coming in for defensive, but Swoi looks like he will go down at the end. Tychus does take down. There's a good sanctification. They can turn this around entirely.
Okay, SC is trying to do as much damage as he can with the Dragon Blade, but he doesn't have much sustain. ETT gets palmed here, nice so can't even get the kill, and that's going to be a triple here. They need to go get and deal with this Immortal, though. Chasing Jungha means that the Immortal is doing more damage to the keep wall than they would have liked. So they get the full wipe here, with the exception of Abathur. But it was the percentage-based damage. You talked about it from the draft. You talked about it at the start of the game. Malthael, when he actually has his Tormented Souls, when he can get into the fight, the percentage-based damage there is very, very powerful. The fight was too long for L5. It's not only the percentage-based damage coming out from Malthael, but also coming out from Kong on Tychus. The health bars went down so quickly.
Only when they had the right focus again. It really started from Uther when Swoi had to pick Storm to release. Just use it as a defensive tool so his teammates can also just escape from that positioning, because RRR was about to come in. They knew the Sanctification was going to be dropped, and it was perfectly placed. And they were pretty healthy too. Karazim just standing in the middle, healing everyone together. And L5, that was a crazy team fight. RRR now has a very good chance of coming back. Of course, still down a full level, but that team fight was won and really showed why they drafted into this style of percent damage based draft.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is too, though, even though they won that fight, it's the second fight they've won, this time by a larger margin, where still objectives are lost. What they were able to accomplish after getting that fight, because it took them so long to kill Jungha, was just killing the Immortal. They lost both camps. They did not take their own camp. They're down a talent here, but they will even it up with the extra soak. They're heavily committing to bot right now to clearing that camp. But they need to take fights before objectives. They need to have an amazing setup like this where they take the fight during the Immortal phase. They can't find themselves picked before these objectives become important, or it won't matter that they got the wipe. Because death timers at this stage of the game are still so short, L5 just respawns, takes camps, and even though we had a full team wipe, RR accomplished nothing except catching up in soak, and not even fully. So we need to see another fight like that at a better time. You have to give them credit for winning the fight. It was certainly great, and had they not, they might have lost the keep. But still, we need to see a fight won like this right now. All heroics online, same talent here as we head into this Immortal phase.
Yeah, that's exactly why I think L5 will start to just evade the fight. They will not fight, just try to rotate. They have Avatar Soak from the other side, especially because Swoi took Storm instead of Divine Shield. I think they don't have too much burst damage, so I think they will try to not try to fight, just push the objectives, try to rotate around the map, because RRR, they're basically the team fight. And they've experienced, they felt the pain from the last team fight, so they don't really have to fight. They can just stall a lot of time, make sure Avatar pushes the lane, and they can get the advantage in the rotations.
Okay, here we go. It's going to be the engage onto Kong. Oh. There's the taunt there, but the Sank is too good. This looks like already a one fight for RRR that did so much damage. However, Kong gets picked again. There is a palm here. He's able to pop the Odin, so he survives through all of this. But look at, again, all that percentage-based damage coming out. It is going to be the 1-for-1. As SC barely escapes here. Jongha's trying to do what he can, but they don't have the damage to continue fighting this, and the percentage-based damage is going to eventually bleed through. SC, though, comes at the perfect time to get HGC, has the reset, and he is trying to get out, gets that heal. Still, wow. What a fight for RRR position-wise there. They are going to win this one, and they are going to have control of the Immortal for the first time this game. This was the fight I was talking about they needed to take. As L5 is actually playing with fire here, and they're going to try to get the pick onto Oduk.
Oduk staying there for a little bit too long when Kerosene was already on the horsey. And L5 really, as we mentioned, there's no burst damage. They do have some combos. They do have some damage, as we saw. Kong did not get picked off after that toss over the back. Also, the Sanctification coming out from Tekaluk instantly to save his teammate. They were saying, let's go. Let's dive into the team. Let's save Kong. Let's save let's save MSG, let's save our Taikas and try to make our engage just like that, and that worked out pretty well.
Yeah, remember too, the reason why they stayed so long in that fight there and ended up losing them that first halftime is they wanted to get the halftime swap while healing so they wouldn't lose that edge, but unfortunately just didn't quite get it. So L5 lost the initial part of the team fight. Death timer's still pretty short though. They have Abathur, who's unkillable, who gave so much extra value to Jongha. Yep, there's that cast time I was talking about. That was a very healthy shielded Immortal. So close for RRR, but so close but no cigar has been the story of this first game. One team fights, early picks, good positioning and rotations, but never actually able to grab onto the objective. When they have these small advantages, how they use them has not been as strong as what L5's been able to do. And this is going to be a keep wall dead nearly before the Immortal arrives. It's going to be able to fire so many range shots. You have to think, worst case scenario for L5, they get the keep. RRR needs to make sure they don't get picked or they will lose the game.
They need to toss over the wall, just try to stay away from Hooligan's Q, and he gets taunted. Gets tossed over the wall, and the other time, that's a talent coming in later on. Oduk dives in, and Sanctification is just back in time, and before the Sanctification, the perfect storm from Swoy to cancel that from happening. Martel's already gone. Looks like they want to go for the keep and more here.
Swoy is going to win this fight for them. SDE is very low. SC the same, does barely escape here. As we do see, EGZ is pinging, will get away. It looks like MSG comes over just in the last second to save her. But with these picks coming through, the core is under attack. It's losing shields rapidly here. Jongha doing so much to peel. The Immortal works through the shields, but they are going to have to be careful here. Karzim is picked. The armor coming through for Hooligan. He is just untouchable right now. EGZ makes the mistake of trying to fight against a Garrosh with 40+ armor. And SC is going to get the pick here. That's another reset, which allows him to do so much more damage. He is bleeding down, but another heal comes through. 31% on the core. There's the last pick on the Malthael. You have to think that's going to be game here, as Tekaluk will be the last to fall. Maybe he gets in the Hall of Storms. Nope, it's not going to happen. But game number 1 will go in favor of L5.
Nicely done. I like the team fighting coming up from both teams. L5, of course, won the game. But Triple R, they had a good chance of winning. They had really good team fight twice in a row. And L5 was pretty shocked after that. Of course,